Hello, my name is Joseph Sweeman, and this is my informative speech about the dangers of getting a concussion in high school sports. So, there's already been a plentiful amount of concussions for our high school students here at Newview. Mostly football players. I got a concussion myself at a wrestling tournament, and multiple people have been getting concussions in football games to the point where they needed help to walk, uh, and which is a big problem. I'm sure you have someone in your family or know someone that you care about deeply that did high school sports, and I can tell you we need to be more careful about the risk. We have to make sure we're more informed about the risks of getting a concussion, which can be devastating. Like I said, I got a concussion in a wrestling tournament this year. I got picked up, dropped on my head, and everything was blurry. I couldn't I couldn't remember where I was. I was confused. It was just hard to walk. I just had to look down my legs, and then just walk stiff legged. It's besides that, it's hard to remember that day, and to this day, it's hard. It's my memory's been worse. And I have many friends at families that did high school sports that also got concussion. Um, After watching people getting concussions and myself getting concussion, I see how it affects the student's life. You know, their grades and academic academic life. It can affect their mental health, and the physical effects can be permanent. So yeah, transition concussions are horrific, and it can affect your academic life. Um, High school students struggle more in class because they they have memory loss because their brain can't think as well. Uh, the uh, Olivia Seitz 2022 Cognitive Fix FX says that long-term memory loss can be can be still with you even months, even a year after the concussion, usually which is a post-concussion syndrome. And it also says that you can struggle with long-term and short-term. So you don't even. It's not just long-term. You could also get short-term, and but the short-term is more common than the long-term. Both stated by Olivia Sitz from Cognitive Effects, made in 2022. Uh, it, People with a concussion, it's harder to have a concentration or more attention to the subject. Um, Fraser Health states that following a concussion, uh, you it's more you notice difficulties with attention, concentration, and memory, which builds off my last one, my last point, and it shows that you really can lose attention real fast. If you can't focus, you can't learn. And even Goten um, stated that following concussion, some people may suffer persisting symptoms such as memory and concentration problems, which again you can't if you can't concentrate and you have memory loss, you're gonna really struggle in a class because that's the two main things. Like history, you're done for because you can't concentrate on the certain dates, or you just forget it. Concussions can affect uh, concussions can affect teens' mental health, which mental health is really important nowadays because more people have been killing themselves, sadly. Um, yeah. So concussions can make you more depressed and anxiety filled and really set you over the edge. Uh, so, like I said, concussions can make you more depressed. Uh, the NIH from .gov from 2019 said it identified factors with neuropsychiatric conditions after a concussion. A new study reveals that approximately 1 in 5 individuals may experience mental health symptoms up to 6 months after a mild brain injury, which is a concussion, and which is like your first concussion, your second concussion. So you're gonna be miserable for the next 6 months. You could be. You could be more depressed, and not only do concussions related related problem related contribute to depression and anxiety, but pre-existing depression can also risk factors for prolonged recovery from a concussion. From Michael Longyear, 2020, Helio, uh, proving that you can proving if you had depression, which most likely as a teen you probably going to have a rough period, you're going to suffer even more due to depression, holding on to that to the concussion. Um, Teens with concussions are more likely to hurt themselves or get in the worst mental state. Among children, you use 5 and 18 concussions associated with an increased risk of mental issues, psychiatric hospitalization, or self-harm uh, increased from Andrea Ludiak's 2022 JAMA Network. That's what they stated, and showing that concussions can definitely play a factor and maybe make someone want to end their lives, sadly. Um, which I do want to bring up. Suicide is the second leading cause of death of people ages 15 and 24 um, in the U.S. from the UCLA Health. So I'm sure at least a couple people with a concussion but didn't know at the time probably ended their life because of said concussion, because it was affecting their mental health too much. Teens nowadays are our future, and they will hopefully make the future better, as we all hope. They can't do this if concussions affect them later on in life. See, a concussion is not just short term; it could be a long term. Uh, and a large amount of our teens nowadays get concussion. About 20% actually have said they've been diagnosed at least with one concussion, and about 6 of them say they have been diagnosed with multiple concussions from Gritton Johnson 2017 NPR. And in 1 in 5 high school athletes uh, sustain a concussion during the season. So 33% high school students who has concussions report 2 or more in the same year, which really messes up the brain to that point. That's from the ACC. This is proving that high school students that are playing sports are most likely going to get more than one concussion during their season in 1 year, which will affect the brain heavily, and which could lead to CTE, which is a brain damage. Chronic traumatic atrophy is a progressive brain condition that is that is thought to caused by repeated blows to the head, which is CTE. And what is CTE? Includes short-term memory loss, such as asking the same question several times, difficult remembering things. So it's those two things. You can change your mood, so you could be more angry, like, or sad all of a sudden. Uh, Depression. Again, we talked about how it affected your mental health. If you get CTE, if our high school athletes get CTE, it could heavily affect their mental health for the rest of their lives, or increased confusion and disorientation. They might not know where they're at, getting lost. They don't know what time of the day it is. They might be hard to think for them. Making good decisions, and and they might even get Parkinson's as a typical symptoms. Um, that is all from the NHS. That's what they say. Um, Concussions will happen, we like it or not, to everyone, no matter the age. But we should at least inform teens in sports because there's a high risk of getting them. Um, Teenagers with concussions ultimately struggle a lot more. They will struggle with losing concentration and memory in class. Students will have increased depression slash anxiety. In If they get concussions, they could also have long-term mental health, not mental, well, mental health and brain damage. Uh, if you if you have a friend that's doing sports in high school or know someone, you should at least try to inform them the dangers of concussion, because to them it might not be worth it to play a sport and maybe risk your brain and hurt it for the rest of your life. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Joseph Sweetman, and thank you for listening to my speech.